Breaking news! The Miami Dolphins are quietly preparing for what could be one of the most dramatic roster moves in recent franchise history, and no one is talking about it yet. Behind the scenes, moves are being discussed, deals are on the table, and decisions are being delayed for reasons that should have every fan both excited and concerned. The pressure is on in South Florida. Mike McDaniel knows this team has the potential to go all the way, but not without serious changes, especially in the secondary. And while Dolphins Nation continues to root for a successful season, the front office is playing a dangerous game of patience. Why hasn't Jalen Ramsey been traded yet? What's really going on with the alleged talks with Pittsburgh? And is Chris Grier somehow still holding onto his job, once again about to risk it all on a last-minute gamble? The answers may surprise you, and trust me, what I found will make you question everything about how this team is being run. But before I get into that, like it if you've been wearing aqua and orange for decades. And if you're a true Dolphins fan, leave a comment saying, "Go Dolphins! My heart is aqua and orange. Let's go!" Now, onto the breaking story shaking the foundation of our secondary. Jaire Alexander has signed with the Baltimore Ravens, forming what many are already calling the most terrifying secondary in all of football. And what does that mean for us? More pressure than ever to move Jalen Ramsey, and fast. The Steelers are now front and center in this unfolding situation. According to multiple offseason rumblings and insider leaks, they've been inquiring about both Alexander and Ramsey. With Jaire off the table, it's obvious where Pittsburgh will turn next. This isn't just smoke. Slick Rick, who's been surprisingly on the money this offseason, claims Pittsburgh's interest in Ramsey is very real. And with Omar Khan running the show in Steel City, you better believe they're getting aggressive. Why? Because their division rivals in Baltimore just stacked up. Adding Jaire Alexander to a defense that already boasts Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Malachi Starks, and Kyle Hamilton, that's next-level scary. Pittsburgh has no choice but to counter, and Ramsey could be their answer. Jalen Ramsey's versatility makes him one of the few players in the league who could instantly elevate a defense to elite status. He can line up outside, in the slot, at safety, wherever you need him. Pair him with Minkah Fitzpatrick and Deshaun Elliott in Pittsburgh's backfield, and that defense might be better than Baltimore's. That's how serious this could get. And here's the kicker. This is good news for Miami. Because if the Steelers get desperate, the price tag for Ramsey goes up. But there's a sticking point that continues to complicate this. The salary. Miami doesn't want to pay a chunk of Ramsey's contract just to ship him off. But the more money the Dolphins want to save, the lower the return in draft picks. If we agree to eat some salary, maybe we snag a third or fourth rounder. If we push all the cost onto the new team, we're probably looking at a fifth or even a sixth. It's a tightrope walk, and Chris Grier is the one holding the pull. Not exactly comforting, right? And let me just say this, although I'm no fan of Grier and he deserves none of our trust, dragging this negotiation into the late offseason could end up benefiting the Dolphins. Why? Because pressure builds as training camp nears. Teams will want Ramsey on the field learning schemes and syncing with teammates. As that clock ticks down, desperation kicks in. Desperation leads to better offers. So maybe, just maybe, Grier's hesitancy will finally pay off for once. The Rams are still the likeliest destination based on Ramsey's deep ties to Sean McVay and their organization's vocal admiration of him in recent months. But Pittsburgh is coming in hot. And don't sleep on the Green Bay Packers either. With their cornerback depth gutted and wild rumors of Bo Melton, yes, the wide receiver, taking CB snaps at minicamp, they're in full panic mode. But while the trade saga brews, the Dolphins aren't standing completely still. Barry Jackson confirmed that Miami did in fact call about Jaire Alexander, but they weren't ready to make a competitive offer. Why? Because they're waiting to move Ramsey before clearing cap space. Alexander took a below-market deal with Baltimore, $4 million base with incentives up to $6 million, and Miami hesitated. That indecision may have cost them. So now, we shift our focus to who could step in once Ramsey is traded. The top free agent names linked to Miami include Asante Samuel Jr., Rasul Douglas, Mike Hilton, and Stephon Gilmore. Samuel is still recovering and won't sign until his medical checks out. Rasul Douglas has a deal on the table but wants more money. Mike Hilton? There's interest but no action. And Gilmore? Strangely, no buzz, even though he brings experience and could solidify the CB2 spot instantly. Still, the truth is this, none of these free agents are game changers. Solid? Yes, but not transformational. That's why the Dolphins need to explore the trade market. Two names to watch closely, Jalen Watson of the Chiefs and Greg Newsome of the Browns. Both are in the final year of their rookie deals. Both are proven, and both are likely available. Watson has dealt with injury, but returned strong in the Super Bowl. Newsome has logged nearly 3,000 snaps and allowed only 2 touchdowns. That's elite discipline. The numbers don't lie. Completion percentage is near 60%, sub 12 yards per catch, and steady QB ratings when targeted. These guys are low-end CB1S or high-end CB2S. Not lockdown corners, but substantial upgrades over what Miami currently has. Now here's where things get interesting. Imagine this chain reaction. Trade Ramsey for a 4th-round pick. Flip that pick for either Watson or Newsome. Then, sweeten your offer and finally lock in Rasul Douglas. Suddenly, the Dolphins go from a bottom-tier secondary to something approaching league average, maybe even slightly above. Pair that with a stacked front 7, and now we're talking top 10 defense potential under Anthony Weaver. But the question remains, can Grier pull it off? Or will hesitation and poor management cost us another opportunity? Then let's get right back into it, because things are only getting juicier. If you've stuck with me this far, you know we're not just talking about tweaking the Dolphins secondary, we're talking about a complete overhaul, the kind of strategic pivot that could shift the entire direction of the 2025 season. But it hinges on one monumental decision: pulling the trigger on that Jalen Ramsey trade and executing the aftermath with precision. Now let's break this down further, because the potential return in a Ramsey deal isn't just about draft picks, it's about leverage. If Grier plays this right, yes, I know, big if, he could turn that 4th-round pick into a centerpiece of our defense. Jalen Watson and Greg Newsome aren't just bodies to fill a depth chart. They're legitimate starting corners, and each offers a different flavor of skill set that could complement what we're trying to build under Anthony Weaver. Start with Watson. He's long, physical, and thrives in zone-heavy schemes, which, by the way, is something we've been leaning into more with Weaver's system. He doesn't shy away from contact, holds his ground in coverage, and has big game experience. Remember, this guy was on the field in the Super Bowl for Kansas City. The Chiefs may let him walk rather than sign him to a new deal, and that gives Miami a perfect chance to swoop in, offer a late-round pick, and upgrade instantly. Then there's Newsome. More polished, better technique, and elite consistency. His snap count alone tells the story. Nearly 3,000 NFL snaps and only 3 touchdowns allowed in that span. That's a level of reliability Miami desperately needs. He's also younger and still has room to develop. Sure, his 5th-year option will come with a higher price tag, but isn't that worth the stability he could bring? Newsome could step in and instantly give you a dependable starter opposite someone like Kader Kohou or Rasul Douglas if we manage to close that deal. Speaking of Douglas, Miami already has a standing offer out to him. He's not a lock yet because he wants more money, but if the Dolphins can shed Ramsey's salary and maybe free up a little space, that door swings wide open. He's experienced, physical, and would bring leadership to a young room. Imagine a CB trio of Greg Newsome, Rasul Douglas, and Kader Kohou, with depth coming from Cam Smith, Storm Duck, and Jason Marshall Jr. That's no longer a weakness, that's a workable unit. That's a group you can go to war with in the AFC. The difference this could make is massive. This team's front 7 is already shaping up to be one of the best in the NFL. Adding a competent, not even elite, just solid cornerback group to back them up could elevate the entire defense into top-tier territory. You're talking about giving Anthony Weaver the kind of roster where his aggressive, hybrid defensive schemes could thrive. Press man looks, disguised coverages, safety blitzes, all of it becomes more effective when the corners can actually hold their own. But none of this works if Chris Grier sits on his hands and lets this window close. The longer he waits, the fewer options we'll have. And let's not sugarcoat it, our cap space is tight. The clock is ticking, and the rest of the AFC isn't waiting around for us to figure it out. Baltimore is all in. Pittsburgh looks ready to move. Even Green Bay, desperate as they are, might make a splash. If Miami doesn't act, we risk becoming the forgotten contender. Again, this moment is a test, not just for the front office, but for the Dolphins as an organization. Can they make bold moves? Can they finally make the hard decisions?